fee, for their permit fee, to be able to review that variance. And then we removed several community health services that we no longer provide, or again are provided through other funding mechanisms. And then on the last page of the staff report are just kind of some highlights of the actual monetary changes. So the hourly service rates were updated for all
systems. Okay. Can you comment on maybe just how the fees are calculated? Mr. Nelson brought up, his concern about the increase in the community group A system permit. It's going up $25. That's not a ton of money, but it is about 15% or so. He wants to know why. Perhaps going into some of the calculation of how we actually figure the fees could answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Services in response to some fee issues there. And so it was piloted with community development services, and then it was required cost recovery. We're required by RCW to get full cost recovery, no more, no less, for the services that we offered. There was really no good methodology for including a lot of overhead costs, like computers, staff doing that. Hypothetically, the fee would go down because the cost would be spread out over a greater number of permits.
Oh, I see.
So per permit cost would hypothetically go down if all costs remain the same over time, but we continue to do more and more business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let me explain that back to you and see if I got it correct. So say we have one staff person with one computer, one car, one insurance, one tank of gas, whatever. With that amount of resources, we can do 10 permits, or we can do 100 permits, say. And if we can do 100 permits, the cost per permit is actually less, versus if we're only doing 10 permits, but we still have to have that person, the cost per permit is a lot higher because each one has to bear a larger burden of the share of those costs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So your fixed costs are the same.
I see.
Right, and that that assumes the costs stay the same. Now, as we know, costs go up over time, and then there's also a breaking point that we've reached, for example, in septic, where we actually need to increase expenses to be able to continue to do the volume that we're doing, which is why we have the increase in FTE.
Okay. So could you take a look at the Group A costs specifically? Do you have that in front of you? Estimates, right? And so this is the first change that's based on actual data, which is why we're seeing some of the fluctuation.
Right.
And you're going to keep collecting data and hopefully improve the reliability. I certainly sympathize with the comments that were made. Obviously, it doesn't cost us less, and we need to figure that out. And not every peg fits into the same hole. We try to make these things as broad and so they can grab as many of the different types of facilities that are out there. But in some particular cases, you've got to look at them a little harder. And
Okay. We will now open this public hearing for Kittitas County Code Chapter 13 proposed revisions. Ms. Moore?
Good morning, Erin Moore, Water Resources Program Coordinator for the Public Health Department, for the record.
Secondly, I just want to thank staff for their work in putting these amendments together. The elements of the settlement agreement are followed through with. The county's done a really great job going over and above everything that we can. On to the next.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, I would move for approval of Ordinance 2018-011. This is a ordinance for the Board of County Commissioners to amend Chapter 13.3 of the Kittitas County Code as presented.
I'll go ahead and second. Is there any discussion on this?
Just by way of discussion, again, thanking staff for their work on this. I know that we had some inconsistencies in the previous code. This cleans that up. It also reorganizes it a little bit. While I'm hesitant to take on responsibilities that were previously performed by the state, I'm willing to give it a try and see what happens in this particular case. Hopefully we'll be able to deliver.
You want to move forward with the administrator update?
Yeah, I think I'll probably just, for the sake of time, because we've got a little bit of a long meeting and we have some important things to talk about, I think I'll just ask if there's any questions on my administrator report.
We'd want to discuss that in painstaking detail before.
Yeah.
Right now, we've allowed the neighborhood association to clean up the outside because there was no evidence that there was any drug contamination on the outside of it. But the house is still essentially boarded up and unfit for human occupancy, and it's in a part of Cle Elum that, you know, the neighbors would like to get the house sold. I think it's in everybody's best interest to get the house sold. It would have been nice if she's been not somebody that we've been able to contact for a while.
That's just to clarify for me. I know with meth, it creates environmental hazard, as in gets in whatever the linoleum and cleanup extensive. But
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, financial update.
This was not in the packet. It's an addendum. Does everybody have this